is up, guys? Welcome back, or welcome to, or whatever, to T2T Wrestling. And no, we're not talking about the castle thing. We'll do that later. But we're going to be talking about good gimmicks. And I'm here with Tim, obviously. Couldn't do it without him. Oh, actually, I could.
No, you couldn't. Hi, everyone.
Alright, so last time, 20 years ago, we did, bad gimmicks. We never really got around to the good gimmicks
No.
video. Well, shit happened. I had to get ready with the kids for school and everything else. Blah blah blah. Vacation. I don't know what the excuses are, but here we are, and we have decided to narrow it down to what the 90s to 2010. So. 10-ish. So yeah, so we'll be talking about gimmicks from that area, and then we'll be making another video later on down the road from 2011 till now. But let's just get into these good gimmicks, shall we? We'll start with number 10. Okay, I'm gonna let you do number 10 because to this you picked it, and I don't know why.
I picked Mr. McMahon. Vince
McMahon, because there is Shane.
Yeah, there is Shane, but I picked specifically Mr. McMahon because that was the moment when WWE went from being...
We're talking about in the 90s?
Yeah, simply because of the influence it had. Up until then, WWE, they have been incredibly popular since the 80s. They have been super, they were very dominant up until that moment, of course. Then they had been in that wave where WCW had sort of taken over. But the Montreal Screwjob, it's worth noticing that no one knew. The Mr. McMahon character, the evil owner of the business, isn't older than the Montreal Screwjob. That was when it started. Before that, Vince was just either... even people who knew sort of conceptually that he owned the company were like, yeah, Vince McMahon, that's the commentator guy, or the interviewer guy, or the backstage guy, or something. He was just there, and he actually usually played a fairly straight down the middle commentator. He was basically Michael Cole. I would not be surprised if Michael Cole based a lot of his commentating style on Vince McMahon's old thing. Then came the Montreal Screwjob, and then suddenly Vince became the Mr. McMahon character. Now, you might say that it's not so much a character, that's just Vince. And maybe
yeah.
some will... there is probably a lot of truth to that, but I don't think the Nation of... not the Nation of Domination. I don't think late 90s Undertaker and the Ministry of Darkness. I don't think The Rock. I don't think Stone Cold. I don't think everything that sort of set the stage for the Attitude Era could have worked as it did without the Mr. McMahon character and what it sort of gave and the sort of jolt or the change it gave the company. I'm not necessarily saying that Mr. McMahon is, the one... everyone... Let's face facts. Everyone enjoyed watching Vince on stage. We might not have wanted him to run the show for the last 10 years, but he was always entertaining when he came to the ring. But it's just... I don't think you can underestimate the positive influence the Mr. McMahon character had. Can you imagine Stone Cold without Vince to go up against? And without Stone Cold, would there even have been an Attitude Era as we understand it? So...
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not in... Yes. Oh, well, in that case, I'll take it back. It's not Mr. McMahon. We'll take something else.
No, it's Mr. McMahon.
Yeah. No, I just think it cannot really be underestimated how important it was. Also, Triple H and Steph, 10 years later, the Authority. That those kind of
In fact,
things just wouldn't have worked without Vince.
Even the Hunter Hearst McMahon Hensley era was like, that part. He was part of that too. So
all of that stuff just wouldn't have worked without the McMahon on-screen characters. That's why I think it's the 10th best on our list. Do you want to do number 9 then?
No, I want to go to bed. No, just kidding. Anyways, let's do number 9. Number 9 is I am a real no, just kidding.
Hulk Hogan
or Hollywood Hogan from the NWO, basically.
Yeah.
Just the guy who played Hogan, whatever.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean,
I agree.
Real popular back in like 80s, early 90s, and then when you got into NWO, which was like Hollywood Hogan was probably one of my favorites. I think I liked him more than Hulk Hogan.
I mean, to a certain degree, yeah, but it was also because, Hollywood Hogan became so incredibly popular because he really was the most horrendous of heels.
Yes.
And it only worked because he had been Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
No one else could have played that role to the dominance that he had.
Yeah, that is true. It's really true. So.
There's nothing much to say about it. I maintain that no one else could have played that character, and also, the Hulk Hogan character is just fun. I understand why he wore out his welcome there in the early mid 90s, especially in WCW. I remember 1994 in WCW where they basically tried to make Hulk Hogan. Well, maybe it was him that just didn't want to do anything else, but oh god, there was a lot of stuff. The thing with the Giant.
Oh yeah.
Late 94 and early 95. Oh god, the early days of Paul White or Big Show as the Giant and the son of Andre. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. But still, it's Hulk Hogan. You cannot underestimate the character of Hulk Hogan and Hollywood back in the 90s. You just can't.
Or in the 2000s.
Or in the 2000s, for that matter, but not quite so much, perhaps. Although his run with, whenever he comes back, there is a pop for him like nothing else. So,
yay, yeah. Hogan! Let's go to number 8.
Hogan. Yeah. Well, we have the Degeneracy. Are you ready for DX? And
Degeneration X.
I'm ready for Degeneration X.
This was one of my favorite staples. Like when I was a kid, I had like all their shit. I begged my dad, give me some DX stuff. But I was like, I don't like those people. But Dad, I'm trying to be like against the authority. He's like, how are you gonna be against the authority and ask me for stuff? I don't know, Dad. They didn't tell me all that.
Oh, yeah. But Dad, I'm supposed to be rebelling against authority. Buy me this stuff. Yeah, no.
Like, you can't go to school with a shirt that says "suck it," but why not?
yeah.
So, DX consists of Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Chyna, X-Pac, Road Dogg, Billy Badass. Who else? Kane was in it for one time at point. Tori. I haven't seen Tori in a while.
But the core was
basically
the core was Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Chyna, X-Pac, and the New Age Outlaws.
Yeah. Well, it started with this Triple H, Chyna.
Basically, it was Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Chyna until Shawn got injured.
Yeah.
And we thought he would retire and then unretired later, but yeah,
no.
Again, at the same time, you're right. I said the Attitude Era wouldn't have been the same without Stone Cold, and That's true, but at the same time, the Attitude Era was personified by DX.
Yeah.
It revitalized Shawn Michaels as a star after the mid-90s and the Screwjob, and it created Triple H as a star. And it was just that first real, as you say, sort of late 90s anti-authoritarian thing.
Because I think it helped Triple H too, because I mean Triple H was like Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Oh, absolutely! It created him.
It created him as like he calls himself,
like a legit superstar.
Yeah.
Back in the day. I mean, now everyone is superstars, of course, but I mean, if you use the term in its more, usual term, it took him from a mid-card wrestler who had, well, I mean, there was the Click thing back in '95, but it took him from a mid-card wrestler who was in feuds with, Hillbilly Jim and the Godwin brothers into someone who was at the very top of the card and would eventually become world champion. Everyone knew it back in those days.
Right. This is true. I forgot I was going to say. I was going to say something.
Oh.
No,
but yeah, no, it made Triple H's career, but it was just, they really were just like the personification of the Attitude Era.
I mean, it would like imitate other wrestlers and like mix them in. They were so funny, man. Like, oh man. Like the kids today missed out on that. Like y'all like under like certain age, y'all need to go back and like go watch some of the DX the
stuff. Original DX. Not the revival in the mid 2000s. I mean, that was fun enough, but it wasn't the original.
I mean, it wasn't as good as it was like in the Attitude Era days. It was just hilarious.
Like they made villains cool. They might have been the first stable in WWE history that made villains cool.
Yeah. Shall we?
Let's move on to number 7.
Number 7, we got John Cena, Doctor of Thugonomics. Whatever the hell it is, I don't know. That was something else. But back
then that was back when he was rapping and had the spinner belt.
Oh, I like the spinner belt.
I hate the spinner belt.
I had one.
Well, no offense, I still hated the spinner belt. I really, really hated the spinner belt.
It was good. I think everybody hated it. I think that's why I fucking got it, because I was like, yeah, piss people off.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Well, I know I know Tim has his little things with John Cena now, but we're not talking about John Cena now. We're talking about John Cena when he was Doctor of Thugonomics.
Yeah, and just John Cena persona and gimmick, so to speak.
And when he was doing all his rapping and acting all Wigginish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it really worked. I'm amazed he got it over, because he wasn't a heel. I mean, he was played as a heel, but he really, really wasn't.
Right.
He was. I think people have a tendency today, because, hey, later John Cena is John Cena, right? And
right.
Only kids and women like him and so on. I think people forget just how popular John Cena was back in 2002, 2003 and 4.
Right, when he was almost his real heel. I'm like, yeah, he used to be a heel, so I was like,
yeah.
Why they never turn him back into a heel? Like, oh, look at the kids.
I never understood it.
I don't know. It's like he's done it before. Like,
he was also in a very good time for the company. The company was lacking stars. It was right after like the Invasion had been a few years earlier. Rock was retired.
Triple H was like
partially retired,
injured or some shit like that.
Triple H was there,
but
other than him, I mean, Shawn Michaels was retired again.
for like the 18th time. Like, how many times are you going to retire, Shawn?
Shawn has been retired like 4 times now.
I know, right?
But he had another one, partially. Brock Lesnar was out. Brock Lesnar was out. Angle was injured.
This was like the time where they were like trying to figure out what they were going to do with these WCWs, and like this whole new era was coming in with the freaking...
The Attitude Era was over. We didn't really know where things were going.
It was kind of like being stuck in a lull.
Yeah.
And like the only thing that was like cool and exciting was like John Cena talking smack to like
Yeah. I mean, there were
JBL or
plenty of
some
good
shit.
wrestlers. There was
I mean, they had JBL.
Taker, there was Angle, and so on. But yeah, JBL as a heel, JBL as a heel champion for nearly a year. Oh, that set up John Cena more than him. But just the John Cena Doctor of Thugonomics there, he made a white rapper work, and damn was he popular.
Yes. He
Again,
made it look good. He had some good raps or whatever. He had some good
yeah.
disses and stuff like that.
I mean, also he actually had some fairly decent raps
Right,
at
exactly.
that time compared to like Macho Man, who also tried, which went less well.
Or Kurt Angle when he tried to imitate John
No,
Cena. I'm like,
no,
oh,
no,
no, no,
no,
no, no. It's not working.
no, no, no,
Please
no,
stop.
yeah. And then, of course, eventually he became John Cena, which, I mean, again, you can like John Cena, you don't like John Cena,
Well,
and
I mean,
yes, he was
see,
overpowered
the,
during a lot of the noughties, but you can't
yeah.
really underestimate just how important and popular he was.
Because, I mean,
I
like,
mean,
sorry, go ahead.
no, no,
No, because
I'm
I
good.
was saying, like, John Cena kind of was, like, at the end of the Attitude Era, after he was leaving and stuff like that, because it's, like, he had this brawl with, like, Brock Lesnar, and you know how Brock Lesnar had, like, the F5, and he had, like, the
Yeah,
SU, but then they had to change it to the Attitude Adjustment because of, like,
yeah.
the whole freaking parenting era, I like to call
Oh,
it.
the PG era, the PG era.
Yeah, so I was like,
Yeah.
ugh.
I think today they call it something like
A
what
mistake?
yeah, well, yes, yes. There's a lot of things there that was.
Go to number 6.
Yeah. This is the first thing that isn't really a stable or a character and so on. This is the gimmick match called the TLC, the Tables, Ladders, and Chair match, which
Which.
I know it's dangerous, and that's why they're not really doing it. That's sort of why it was taken over by Hell in a Cell as the primary gimmick match. But oh man, the TLC matches are some of the best matches in WWE history. Has been TLC matches.
Oh my god, yes. Especially the one with freaking Hardys, the
I mean,
Dudleys, and
the
Edge, and
original
Christian.
TLC match, yeah.
Yeah, and Christian was like probably one of the best TLC matches ever.
I mean, it might have been. I mean, the TLC match was basically invented at least in WWE, for the feud between the Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, and the Dudley Boys. And it was just like the ladder match was basically invented again in that company at least for Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon. It was like, I don't know if there has ever been a better one than that very first one.
Yeah.
It just utterly stole the show. Can't even remember what else was on that card, because that match just utterly owned everything. But yeah, there's just something about a TLC match. It's like ladders are in play, tables are in play, chairs are in play. You could do some of the craziest stunts. I would give everything I own to see Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have a TLC match.
Right.
I mean, they would probably kill each other, but I would want to see it anyway, just for how good they could
For
make
the
it.
death?
Yeah, I mean, basic. I mean, it's not entirely true. Yeah, no, it was just really was so awesome. They're just really so awesome matches.
I mean, it's really like just dangerous, especially with Jeff Hardy. Like Jeff Hardy
Yeah,
was just with little fucking ladders and just it'd be like 20 feet in the air, and I'm like, he ain't no way in hell.
yeah, and
Well, let's go to number 5. Number 5, we got Sting.
ding.
Are we talking about Sting in the WWE?
Yeah, well, I mean, to a certain degree, yes, but we're talking about mid to late '90s Crow Sting. I mean, Surfer Sting was popular enough earlier, but again, I watched, because we got WCW in Europe more than WWE at those times. I watched a lot of WCW back in the NWO days, and again, Sting's popularity and just how well they played that gimmick simply cannot be overstated. It's just so good.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, it really was. Hanging out in the rafters, just the going from the Sting we knew, which was woo and happy and basically like WWE's version of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, it's basically it
Eat
was
your
like
vitamins,
blonde
kids,
hair.
and I'm
Yeah.
super popular and very happy and happy-go-lucky. And then he basically, he turned into the fucking Crow. At first, he even removed. I mean, today everyone thinks about Sting with the Scorpion face paint, but in the early days, he was just pure, chalk white. No, it was just. NWO overstayed its welcome, but Sting gave it an extra year just for being opposed to them, just for being so good. And I mean, Sting is just also an awesome wrestler for his style. So.
Let's go to number 4 then.
That would be Hell's favorite demon, the big red machine, Kane.
Yay, McDonald's. I mean, Kane.
Yay!
Kane made him.
Glenn Jacobs, the man who used to be a dentist.
And now it's what?
A mayor.
The mayor
actually, of Knox County.
Yeah.
Yes.
How far he came.
Yes. From Isaac Yankeem to literal mayor of Knox County. That's a career.
The dentist was a bad gimmick, but Kane was actually a good gimmick. Kane was a little brother of the Undertaker.
Yep.
And
whatever they really are to each other has been a bit muddled up over the years. Are both of them actually sons of Paul Bearer?
They supposedly.
Did they have real parents?
They're supposed to be.
Was Kane? Sorry?
I'm like, they're supposed to be.
I mean, it's very different, yeah, but they retconned their backstory quite a few times over the years, so it's been a little bit. But again, just like Sting gave NWO a sort of lease on life, I think Kane sort of revitalized the Undertaker.
Yeah.
Not that the Undertaker had become stale or anything. Like, it wasn't like he was unpopular, but he started out in 91 and he had sort of become a bit irrelevant by 1997. I mean, other people have started. There was Bret Hart, there was Shawn Michaels. Stone Cold had started to come in. The Rock had sort of started his rise. Taker was there, and he was always there. I mean, it's Taker, but he was always just a little bit sort of... Is he really as relevant as a wrestling, Undertaker zombie thing in 97 during the Attitude Era as he was 6 years earlier? And then came Kane, and after that, it was just Undertaker has never had a moment where he was sort of irrelevant again.
Right.
So that's just the influence, but also Kane is just a really good character.
I mean, Kane's character, like back in like the Attitude Era, like he was freaking
just
like
the masked monster. He might have been the best. I mean, apart from Andre, he might just have been the best monster wrestler in my lifetime.
He was freaking huge, man. Like, honestly, he scared the crap out of me because, like, I would go to, like, the house shows and see them when I was little. I'm like, oh, hell no.
Yeah.
Or like,
hell no, literally, yes.
Yeah, like, no.
Indeed, yes. With the mask and the hair and...
I was really upset when they got rid of the mask and the hair.
Yeah, me too. That was a mistake.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever really recovered from that.
No.
Not really. But the early days of Kane coming in with the, fire from...
I mean, it was like Kane back in the day he didn't really talk because he couldn't talk because basically he had a mask on because basically he got burned in a fire supposedly, but it turns out no, he didn't. It was all in his head.
Yeah. Yeah, that was not the best one we have ever seen.
Yeah.
But he has had some. I mean, also just again, it was Kane. You knew when Kane come out, people were going to get ass kicked one way or the other. I mean, I still think today he has the record for most people eliminated in the Royal Rumble, just because he was always the guy who come out and like threw 10 people out of the ring before getting kicked out by then usually the winner.
Number 3.
Yep.
Alright, number 3 is, we talked about it a little bit, NWO!
The New World Order, which during the first, say, year and a half of its life was the coolest thing in wrestling.
I mean,
without
it really
question.
was the best thing that WCW actually had.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably the best thing
WWE had, yeah. So it's like, yeah, I mean,
there is a reason why they outfought WWE there for some years.
Yes. Because, I mean, they had the Monday Night Raw Wars, whatever, between
the Monday Night Wars,
between WCW and WWE.
For 87 straight weeks, they beat WCW, or they beat Raw. Nitro beat Raw, at least.
I mean, Nitro had the freaking dancing girls. Woohoo!
Yeah, they have the Nitro girls.
But anyway, we're talking about NWO. So NWO was consists of Hulk Hogan, Razor Ramon, and
Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. Yeah, Razor Ramon / Scott Hall and Kevin Nash / Diesel, if you really want.
And then they started adding other people in after a while, and then eventually
it become half of the roster.
Right, and then it was like they got into like a civil war between NWO and NWO Wolfpack. It was like you're either black and white or black and red or some shit like that. It was just ridiculous. It was good until it became ridiculous.
Yes, NWO is what I'm comparing Roman Reigns' current run to. Yeah. It started out as maybe the best thing in wrestling, and it ended out with something where the fans was just, end already, go away. We are tired of this.
Pretty much. Away. Yes, pretty much.
I mean, it was like, who cares? Okay, so we have the NWO versus WCW for the tag team titles, and WCW is Fit Finlay and Jerry Lynn, and the NWO is Scott Norton and Crush. Just no. They should have stuck to. They should have stuck to like the best NWO, in my opinion, was late 1996, like after a few months, where it was the 3 originals and then Macho Man and Giant and a few more. Because they really were as dominant as you thought they were without taking over everything about the show.
True.
It wasn't like not every fight had to contain an NWO person, but damn, that moment when Hulk Hogan comes out and leg drops Randy Savage.
Yeah, everyone was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
My favorite moment, right? Or I guess I don't know who had the belt at the time, and I guess they were both Hogan and the other person was like both knocked out, and Scott Hall and Kevin Nash was like, "Well, we gotta wake him up." So they put him over the guy. He wins, right? Hulk Hogan wins the belt, but you don't know he's knocked out. I don't remember how they got knocked out. But then they're like, we have to wake him up. So they threw some ice water on him, and he woke up. And they handed him the belt. He's like, I won. I was like, okay. It was so. I mean, they were like as funny as. This is like at the same time as like DX is kind of like going into the mix, because you remember when DX went to WCW?
Yeah. The invasion.
Right.
The original
invasion. Yeah. So they were just as funny as basically DX
They
was.
really were good until they started taking themselves first too seriously, and then of course because, like I said, this is why I'm comparing them to Roman Reigns. They way overstayed their welcome because WCW didn't have an end game for them.
No.
They never had
Well,
a
I mean,
plan
look
for them
who
except
ran
to just
WCW
milk it.
now. Come on.
Yeah, no, I get it. I do get it.
Something about these Vinces, I swear.
I do get it, but it's like other people have said this other than me. They forgot that the heels are supposed to lose in the end, and they just never did. W number 3, and yes, damn, they were cool back in their day. Back in their heyday, they were immensely good.
Anyways,
Number 2,
go ahead.
and this is just the whole thing. This is just the Attitude Era with everything it brought along.
Yeah. Which we pretty much said it, but enough of that. But like, yeah, but like the Attitude Era was like my favorite era.
Yeah.
I mean, because it was kind of
it's hard for me to say because the rock and wrestling thing back in the 80s was when I started watching.
Yeah, I mean, I started
watching.
I mean, for me, like, I started watching wrestling not by choice because I didn't have a choice what I got to watch in, like, back in the Hulk Hogan early days and stuff like that. Yeah. But like for me, I got to like, oh, okay, I like this characters. I like these characters. I'm not like, well, who's that and who's that and who's that?
Yeah, exactly.
I got to like, okay, so it's like it was more like I guess not like my style of wrestlers or something like that, where it's not like, these wrestlers in like the little wrestling shorts and blah 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 blah. They have like attitudes and they're just not there just to wrestle. They're actually talking smack to each other and they're putting each other down. It's like, oh, this is like, oh, okay, this is why people say shit to me and I'm like, I can just roll it off my back because I'm from the Attitude Era. Like, this is shit I heard all the time. You ain't saying nothing new.
But it was just a good time.
I mean, it was fun time. It was a good time that they had like good wrestlers. I mean, Lita was like one of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean the storylines.
The story was better. Yeah, I mean it's like
it was just there was just a lot of things that just worked in the Attitude Era. I mean, it's not that the wrestlers were all necessarily amazing, but at the same time, I mean, Stone Cold, The Rock, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, Undertaker, Kane, Mick Foley, Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero started coming up there through WCW and then over there. I mean, I hate to mention his name, Benoit. It was just the storylines, the characters, everything about it. The Nation of Domination, the Ministry of Darkness, the Mr. McMahon, the Mr. McMahon Stone Cold feuds. There was a feeling to it that I don't think we have seen. There was a feeling to it I don't think we have seen since, well, today, really.
Right, yeah.
I mean, the feeling we have now with there was like a feeling of optimism about wrestling again. The 90s, despite NWO, most of the early 90s had been a down period from the glory days of the late 80s with, Hogan and everything else. The Attitude Era again, people were having fun with wrestling again.
Oh, I think it probably started off with like DX just like saying stuff that would normally say. I mean, they would like actually like show their like ass on TV or like.
I mean, half the things Triple H said was about him fucking Shawn Michaels. I mean,
like the things they say, you cannot say them today at all. Not even like oops. Like barely you can say. I mean, come on, they would call people. I mean, they call Stephanie a slut
repeatedly,
constantly. A slut, a trash bag hoe,
kidnapping her and marrying her, and of course, Katie Vick was also that era. But let's ignore that for the present. I mean,
they called Kane a retard. You can't say that.
Well, they did it. No, you can't, but they did it anyway.
I mean, you can't say that now. You can say it then. It was like, no one cared then. It was like, some of the things, I was like, good lord. Like, it was just fun. It was just funny and just fun and just, oh man. It'd be nice to be able to, like, I'm not saying we need to call people like sluts and all this other stuff, but you know,
No.
how.
But the thing, I don't
I
think
mean,
that necessarily
also,
worked today either. The whole point about it wasn't. The whole point about it wasn't that it was, the point of it wasn't that they called each other sluts. The point of it wasn't that they were edgy. The point of it was that it just hit that sweet spot of zeitgeist, so to speak, like the spirit of the time. It was just the wrestling was good, the attitude was good, it was fun. The people who were young at the time could see themselves in WWE.
also, it was cool too because, you know, the men can actually, like, hurt the women.
Yeah. Oh, God. China was Intercontinental Champion.
Right?
And China wasn't Intercontinental Champion because she was being, because she was being carried. China had some great matches with that match China had with Val Venus is still maybe the best intergender match I've ever seen for a major promotion.
Yes.
Not the one everyone remembers, but not the one everyone remembers where he basically just tried to hump her and got squashed. But they had another match on a Raw, I think, that was actually like a proper match, and damn was it good.
Yeah. I mean, if they're going to do that for, like, Rhea, but, you know, that's a different story for a different day, but still.
I mean, I really want that to work. I also think Rhea and someone like her would want it to work. I mean, could you imagine someone like Shayna
Baszler?
Take Shayna and put her up against someone like Woods or something like
that. Poor Woods! Poor little Woods.
poor little King Woods. Sorry, that's over now. Poor little Xavier Woods again.
Right, but like,
he's
yeah.
no longer King.
I mean, you know, like, Stephanie McMahon would get rock bottomed. You know, it's like, I miss those days. Those were great.
Yeah, no, they really were. It's just, again, it's the only thing I can say about today with Triple H taking over is that there is sort of, now we'll see how it goes. No one knows how it's going to go, but it does have that same sort of feel that the Attitude Era had. People are happy to watch wrestling. It's been a while since people were really happy to tune in and watch wrestling.
Yes.
And that was just what we were back in those days. It was just a fun time.
I mean, yeah, it was like, for me, it was like in those days where, like, I had to go get my VCR ready just in case I couldn't make it on time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even back in the 80s, because we didn't have the chance back then, so you caught live shows, and if you didn't, well, you tried to follow along. But yeah, when since those days have it been, oh, I need to record this, I need to see the shows? Other than that, it's like, okay, so I missed a Raw, who cares?
You're right, exactly.
We'll see the same bloody thing next week.
Right? It's the same shit. I'm like, okay, whatever. But yeah, back in those days, you wanted to, like, watch Raw. You wanted to watch SmackDown. And it wasn't like, okay, well, these people are on Raw, if these people are on SmackDown. It was like, no. It was like, whoever was on that show that day.
Yeah. And it was like, you never knew what to expect. That was another thing. Everything about it was very unpredictable. At any given time. But yeah, no, the Attitude Era, number 2 on our list.
Alright, well, let's go to number 1. Everyone, a moment of silence, please.
Guess what it is?
A moment of silence. We got The Undertaker. All The Undertakers.
Could it be anyone or anything but The Undertaker? No, it could not.
No, it could not. It had to be The Undertaker, because, I mean... Yeah. The Undertaker basically
it's Taker, right?
Defined, like,
everything that came along with it.
I mean, from, like, the beginning to, like, now. It's like...
Yeah. I mean, Taker is not the most popular wrestler of all time. That will still be Hulk Hogan, or maybe top-level John Cena. Taker is not the best wrestler of all time. That would probably be Flair or Shawn Michaels. But Taker is without a doubt just the greatest wrestler of all time.
I mean, yeah, it's just something about Taker. It's just
Yeah.
his presence. Even, like, with all the Undertaker, even, like, with American Badass, when he was, like, with the motorcycle. It's just
a biker
guy. It's like all his gimmicks that he has, and he was always Undertaker, and it's something about him. It's like it's unexplainable.
It really is.
Like you said, he ain't the best wrestler. He ain't. I mean, even the charismatic wrestler in the world. It's like he ain't even really good on the mic wrestler in the world. It's like I don't know, but something about him is just.
That's the point, because he's never had to be, because the gimmick speaks for him.
Right. Like, I mean, all he had to do was stand. All he had to do was stand there. All right, I'm for it.
Yeah. Listen, with all due respect to Mark Calloway, he's not in any way the most, he's not the most intimidating wrestler in any way. But the Undertaker, he could scare the crap out of me. Or he could scare the crap out of anyone, really.
He did scare the crap out of me.
And again, he was active for 30 years, and let's say 25 years where he was, more than just showing up once a year. He was active for 25 years in WWE as the Undertaker, and in all that time, there was maybe 1 or so years where he wasn't the top name.
Right. Well, I mean, here's also. Go ahead.
He might not always have been competing for the titles, but at the same time, it was always the Undertaker. It's like, if you need... Randy Orton is injured, Edge is injured, and Rey Mysterio is in a feud with someone else. Who are we going to throw against John Cena? Call the Undertaker. That'll do the trick. I mean, or whatever. Basically.
I mean, when you think of Undertaker, you think of that streak of WrestleManias.
Yeah, of course. I mean,
they should have never broken that streak.
I know what they were doing with Brock Lesnar. I know what they were doing. It was still the wrong decision.
Definitely wrong, and it was terrible. But it was like, it was kind of like back in the day when, like, the Undertaker had, like, the streak. It was like, I could just bet money on somebody who never watched wrestling before, and that Undertaker will win. I know. You want to bet? Yeah, good. How much do you know about wrestling? What do you know? Oh, you don't know who the Undertaker is? Perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
there's very little to say. It was just.
I mean, some of the things that he did, though, like those Mick Foley houses.
It was the Undertaker. You cannot say positive words about him enough, and there's practically nothing negative to say. For God's sake, the man has been a wrestling zombie Undertaker biker druid for 25 years, and he gets bigger pops than anyone.
True.
I mean, he has managed to stay relevant for 25 years.
I mean, that's, like, amazing. Like, he still gets pop. I bet you, like...
never... I mean, yeah, he reinvented himself a little bit with the American Badass, and he put some of those things into later years, but, I mean, it's still... They didn't change the name or anything. It's just the Undertaker.
It was still the Undertaker. It was just Undertaker with badass motorcycle guy.
Yeah. Like, okay, the zombie has decided to buy a Harley. Okay, fine.
Okay, cool. Why not? I guess zombie likes to ride Harley too. I guess. Sure, why not? I ain't saying anything.
I'm not gonna argue with him. I don't think.
Right? I'm like, sure, whatever you say, Undertaker. I've seen him in person. I ain't arguing with him. That is our top 10 gimmicks from 90s to 2010,
Yeah,
which wasn't really too many 2010s, but whatever. We can always fix that next time.
but I think that's because that I mean there was Cena. I think that's because a lot of the people who were there in the 2010s
I mean, the
would be
only
mentioned on the one we do from 2010 to 2020 until now anyway. I mean, someone like Randy
or
is hard to get around, but he would be mentioned on the current one.
yeah, some of y'all people are like wondering why we haven't mentioned like some other
Yeah,
wrestlers. Was because some of all these wrestlers are still active, so we're probably gonna save them for next time.
yeah.
But as always, thanks for watching and listening to us bitch and ramble. We're really bitching, but get all excited because we love wrestling. This is like our thing.
It really is.
Cause me and Tim could talk forever about wrestling.
I mean, we probably will eventually.
A 24-hour stream with nothing but wrestling talk. No, not really.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't know when I'm gonna put this out, but when are you streaming again?
I don't know because my streaming depends on when I can gain access to my Twitch channel, and that might be today, it might be tomorrow, it might be sometimes next week. My best guess is I will be back next Thursday.
Well, I don't know when I'm gonna put this out, so all that was just irrelevant.
My best guess is I started
Sometime-
2 weeks ago when
Sometime
Toya
in September, you will put
sometime in September. That's my best guess.
Okay, and I am playing Mafia, so make sure you check that out. I also have poetry readings every other Friday, so I don't know which week this will be on, but look out for that as well. And also some other shit that I may or may not have to do, I've done, or whatever. Anyways, see you guys next time. Bye!
Bye.